Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hello everyone, my name is Belva Bennett, and today I would like to share my experience in using ChatGPT for learning, especially in English speaking practice. Now, in this presentation, I will explain how I use ChatGPT and what benefits did I get from it, and also some challenge that I have to face when I use this application. Let's break it down together. Now, before I begin, here is the outline of my presentation. First, I will briefly explain AI in learning. What is that? And second, I will talk about the AI tool that I use most often, which is ChatGPT. Then I will explain how I use it in my daily learning and for speaking practice. After that, I will share the advantage and challenge that I have to face. Finally, I will end it with my conclusion. Next, I will explain what AI is. Now, artificial intelligence or AI is becoming more common in education today. Many students, like me, use AI to help them study more easily and more independently. AI can give us quick explanation, examples, and even practice questions. It is also useful because students can access it anywhere and anytime. Now, for me, AI is helpful because it supports my learning or study outside the classroom and also help me understand the lesson better. Next is the AI tool that I use most often. The AI tool that I use most often is ChatGPT. I usually use ChatGPT to support my English learning. For example, I use it to ask about grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. I also use it when I need simple explanation because sometimes textbook can be difficult to understand. Beside that, I use ChatGPT to help me practice speaking and prepare for class presentation. Next, how I use ChatGPT in daily learning. In my daily learning, I use ChatGPT in several ways. First, I ask for simple explanation when I do not understand a topic. Then, second, I use it to check grammar mistakes in my sentence. Then, I also ask ChatGPT to teach me new vocabulary and make example sentence so for me to understand it more better. Then I ask it to create short conversation or exercise for practice. Because of that, ChatGPT helps me learn in more active and practical way. So, why ChatGPT is helpful? Well, there are several reasons for why ChatGPT is helpful for learning. First, it gives fast response, so I do not need to wait long. And second, the explanation can be simple and easier to understand. And even you can ask it to make it more simple for you to understand. Another reason is that I can learn at my own pace and I can ask many questions without feeling shy or embarrassed. This is very helpful because I can repeat practice as many times as I need it until I understand better. Move on to the next topic, how I use ChatGPT for speaking practice. So, I also use ChatGPT specifically for speaking practice. For example, I use it to practice self introduction and daily conversation, and sometimes I ask ChatGPT to give me simple question for me to answer, and in English, of course. And I also use it to practice giving opinions on different topics for about 10 or 5 minutes. And this is really helps me become more familiar with natural response and useful expression. And it is also helpful when I want to prepare before speaking in front of the class. it gave me more confidence and preparation. Next, was it easy or difficult? Well, at the beginning, using ChatGPT for speaking practice was not very easy for me. I had limited vocabulary, so sometimes I did not know what words to use, and I also lacked confidence when trying to speak in English fully. And in addition, I often made grammar mistakes and found it difficult to make complete sentence. However, after practicing regularly, it became more easier. Little by little, I started to feel more comfortable and more confidence when using ChatGPT, when using English to speak to anyone that I know. And that's why it's, well, it was difficult, but it will become more easier as time goes by if we keep consistently practicing. So, the most interesting and helpful part of using ChatGPT is the instant feedback. I can ask a question and get an answer immediately. And I can also practice anytime, whether in the morning, afternoon, or nighttime. And another helpful part is the repetition. I can repeat the same type of practice many times until I understand it better without bothering anyone to help me. And it also helps me learn vocabulary, improve grammar, and build confidence before speaking to real people. Then, what is the challenge and limitation that ChatGPT have? Even though ChatGPT is very helpful, it also has some limitation, unfortunately. First, it is not the same as talking to a real person. Sometimes the answer can sound too formal and not natural in daily conversation. And another limitation is when we speak, sometimes ChatGPT can cut us off even though we hasn't finished talking yet. And then ChatGPT can help with ideas and sentence structure, but it cannot fully replace real speaking practice. So students still need to practice with teacher, classmates, or friends, or even family. Alright, the last one. Will I continue using ChatGPT? And yes, I will continue using ChatGPT in the future ahead. I think it's very useful for preparing before class, exam, and reviewing lessons that have. It also helps improve my confidence because I can practice before speaking in front of other people. And in addition, it supports my vocabulary, grammar, and even speaking development. However, I believe ChatGPT should be used as learning partner and not as the only method of learning. Real practice with people is still very important for us. That's what make us can really improve our conversation. Last is the conclusion. Now, in conclusion, ChatGPT is a useful tool for learning, especially for English speaking. It helps improve confidence, vocabulary, grammar, and sentence building. However, it also has some limitation because it is not the same as real human interaction. That is why I believe ChatGPT works best when it is combined with real life speaking practice. So, AI should support learning, but it should not replace completely human communication. That's all from me. Thank you.